Anyone have a phone number for Tanish? Tanish, Mohan, and this can help me to learn. Check their schedule also for when I see you able to make it this time. Okay. All right. So last class we look at the island, the operation gap, the island gap, this one, and then we also cover the definition of project management, where you need to this one you read like it meets a specific goal, and they have a communication, vertical communication, and horizontal communication. Okay. Okay. Now today we learn about the project management 5-function principle. Okay. Don't confuse this one with the 5 phrases that we learned in the previous class, right? So there's a cycle. There are five cycle from the project start until project close. There are 5 cycle. Don't confuse with this one, because the previous semester I asked this question. I asked the 5 phrases, but the student give me this 5 answer, which is wrong. Okay, so try to differentiate between the project management phrases or cycle and this principle. Okay, so there are 5 functions: planning, organizing, staffing, controlling, and directing. So there are 5 functions. So don't confuse with the phrases. The rest you read. The rest you read. This is previous slides. Okay. So in definition, the staffing function have been taken out according to the definition, but traditional project management have 5 functions there. Okay. Staffing here is a functional line responsibility. Okay. So you are the project manager. You need to talk to line manager or functional manager to get the resources from the functional line. Okay, because you as a project manager, you don't have the resources. Who have the final say of releasing the resources is the functional manager. If you want to loan somebody from production, you need to talk to the production manager. Want to use the certain machine, you need to talk to production manager. Right? So this is the meaning of staffing. Right. Now, when you look at short-term and long-term definition, short-term means from 6 months to 2 years, consider short-term. Right? For construction, civil, usually will be 3 to 5 years, consider short-term. But for manufacturing, it can be 6 to 2 years, consider short-term. Right? But nowadays, I think since you have the precast models, means the precast construction materials, you just plug in like a Lego, then maybe the construction short-term project will be shorter, will be less than 5 years. Because you as a construction company, you want to sell the projects as fast as you can. Right? Normally, the consumer cannot wait for long. Right? Okay, the rest you read. Okay, so this is an important diagram. This is a project management overview diagram. So you are dealing with these 3, and then you need to consider time, cost, and your technology or performance. Then this outside here is you need to take good care of your customers. Okay, so this is an important diagram when it tell you to illustrate a traditional project management. This is a traditional, or maybe 20 years ago, someone introduced this one. Okay, but today we will modify a little bit this model. Okay. So traditionally, the successful or the project definition, we look at the time, cost, and the resources, right? Time, cost, resources, and the performance here. So basically, your resources actually referring to time, cost, and the technology that you have, right? So the thing that control your successful your project success or fail, you look at the time, cost, and the performance. Okay. Okay. Now, the output of the project, you have input and output. What is your input? Is your time, cost, and your technology. Your output is in the project management, they are called deliverables. Outputs, they are called deliverables. Right. So the rest you read. So it's a products. It can be services. Project management, it can be product or it can be services. Right. For example, banking. Banking, they're actually services. Insurance company, they are services. Manufacturing, they are products. So there are two. There are two ways. Deliverable, they are measurables, and their output in the form of all these. So output can be hardware, it can be software, it can be interim deliverable. So interim deliverable is a report plus the hardware and software. So there are different types of output. Okay, it can be hardware, it can be software, it can be interim. So these are all section A kind of question that give you a definition. For example, explain the deliverables in a project. So the answer is this three. You write this three and then you explain. Okay. So for example, the first part A is 10 marks. So 3 marks, 3 marks, 3 marks. Like 1 mark for the title, explanation is 2 marks. This one is 1 mark and then the explanation is 2 marks. This one 1 mark, then this one is 2 marks. Something like that. Okay. Next, we look at how to define a project success. So we use the diagram. We have 3 constraints: time, cost, and performance or technologies. Then if you work with external customers or the end user, then you have 1 ring outside where you need to keep a good relationship with the customers. Okay. So this one is very, very old models. Then there is a new definition for success that is include all this. Means that there is an updated parameter. 40, 30 years ago, you only look at time, cost, and technologies. But nowadays, we look at the time, cost. This one will remain. Performance here, very specific level. Maybe 30 years ago, they only look at outside appear good, it looks good, you wear a good suit, means you are providing the good services. But nowadays, there is a certain calculation for the performance, right? Then it include the customer. Minimum scope changes means the specification, right? Then less disturbance of how you work your things, and corporate culture. 30 years ago, they don't consider corporate culture. Okay, but nowadays in the modern world, corporate culture is very important. The way Apple works is different from Google's company works. There is a company culture, corporate culture. Protons works differently with other manufacturing company out there, right? So for a new breed of project manager, you try to minimize the changes in the scope when you manage projects. You try to like minimize, don't have minimize the changes. Changes will be happen, but you try to minimize from the project start until project close. Okay, there are 5 phases of the projects. So you can go back to the previous lecture slides. So successful projects, it must be approved by project manager and the end user or customers. Okay. Main workflow, this one is the trade-off. So you as a project manager, you must willing to consider some backup plan, trade-off within the projects. You need to think before something happens without disturbing the process or workflow. Okay. This one is a corporate culture. So different company have their own culture. For example, honesty. For some company, they are very stressed on the honesty. Or some company, they are stressed on transparency. Right. So this one, it will affect the way you manage the projects. Okay. Some company, they have one level kind of management, mean you can walk straight into the CEO office and discuss about your projects. Some company, you cannot do that. Okay, so this it depends on where you work lah. When you work as a project manager, you actually project manager is a position for management role, promotion for it actually is a test for you before they promote you to a higher rank or higher position. So before they promote you, they want to test whether you understand the corporate culture or not. Okay, this is very important. The rest to read. This one is okay. Okay. Since the last lecture, you keep seeing the word trade-off. Trade-off is one aspect of the project that you need to sacrifice to gain the advantages of other aspects. This one normally you sacrifice something. For example, you use replacements of other material so that maybe the shipment is too slow. Then you need to make changes to the product material. Or maybe, for example, previously there is a crisis in the Silicon Valley where they out of this chip, microprocessor chip. Then the whole world, all the advanced smart car, they stop production within the COVID period or after COVID period. There is a one period of time, the whole world out of the chip, right? So when you buy a smart car, you have to wait longer because the smart car need all these chip for the sensor. You need to mount this chip for the smart car sensor. So all the smart car was delayed because of that one. So here you have constraint, secondary constraint, and so on. So you modify this diagram into this one. So inside the resources here, you have a triple constraint. You look at quality, value, reputation, and there's a risk inside here. So different company have different triangular or pyramid here. Okay. So what are the primary constraints? Is the one that outside the triangular. Time, cost, and technology, they are the primary. But they can change also depend on the company. The one that you see on the screen here is the old one, or the, we call it textbook, textbooks project management cycle, not cycle, triangular. Inside this one is the secondary constraint. This also can change according to company. Right. So the rest you read. For today, what important is this diagram. This diagram. So let's say the company is using this success criteria. You have a primary constraint with time, cost, and scope, and secondary, you have image, reputation, risk, and quality and value. So within the company, it can be used. For example, risk is secondary, is inside, but the time is primary. So sometimes you are chasing the time, and maybe you are not focused on the risk of the projects. You just want to, like, for example, construction, you just chase on the completion date, and maybe you don't consider you minimize the risk consideration in your projects. For example, maybe the environment assessment, maybe you give less focus on that. Okay, because maybe the plot of the land, beside the plot of land is the mine, the charcoal, the coal mine, and so on. So you have or maybe there's a chemical factory just beside the residential area. So there might be a future risk problems because of the pollution of the industry. So maybe when you run the project, your company put risk as the secondary. They want to sell the project very fast, so the way you handle it may be different. Okay. Okay, so this one. Okay, this one you read lah. So it can change from the left to the right. Okay, it can change the left to the right triangular. For example, if you change a new management, corporate risk crisis occur such credibility. So you can see there's a difference between the two. So they change the primary time to secondary. Means the company, the new role, the new management, they focus on the value and quality and image reputation. For example, phone producer like Apple, they might be using this one rather than this one. Or those premium products, the BMW, all those Mercedes, or those watch, those expensive watch. Then they will look at the value, quality, and reputation first, and then they will take their time to make the thing. They will they just doesn't care about the cost because they know that they're able to sell the products. So that's why you see the premium cars or watch, all these they use a very good quality of materials in the process, and even it takes times. For example, Rolex and all these things, you need to wait like maybe 5 years or 6 years to get that orders, right? So they doesn't care, not doesn't care lah, but they give more priorities to the primary constraint. Okay, right. So what is important on this slide is that every time the new management come in, they will give a different focus in the projects. Okay. The rest you read. Means what is important is you know what is outside, what is inside. Outside one is primary, inside one is secondary. Okay. So the kind of question will come out using this one. it will give you a statement. You develop this triangular. Okay, it will tell you like, okay, this big boss. Okay, traditionally this one, it give you the question will give you the original, this one. Then it give you a scenario or at a certain time or new management come in, and then it give you a statement, so and so. Then you modify accordingly to a new one. Okay. Yes, there's no fixed answer. There's no fixed like you must follow a certain triangular. No, but the shape is triangular lah. It's just that inside there you can change one. Can. Yes, can. 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 I mean the location also not very fixed. You can put wrist here, image here also can. Important is the two zone. Zone outside, zone inside. Zone outside is a primary one. Means if it's outside one, means they will spend a lot of effort or money to achieve that goal objective. Okay, so for example, Disneyland. Disneyland, the project manager to design the attraction for the theme park. So they have 6 constraints. They have time, cost, scope, safety, aesthetics, and quality. Okay, so they have 6 constraints in their triangular. Okay, so the last 3 constraints will consider lock-in constraint that cannot be altered during the trade-off. So you make some, because in the process, you need to consider trade-off means you take away or you remove. So for Disneyland, safety cannot be removed. Aesthetic means you have to look pretty, looks good. Like for example, Mickey Mouse and all this have to look cute and always have a smiling face. These are all the characteristics. It make you happy. Positive, positive things. Everything you go inside Disneyland, you feel happy. Everything is good. Okay. Quality also, right? Quality also. So that is the constraint. Then time, scope, cost. This one they can track off. Means they can make you to wait, no problem. But they will have a strategy to make you to queue at a certain way, right? So sometimes they will just sell the ticket earlier. They can pre-book, but you have to wait, for example. Cost, they can sell you at a very high price, right? Because they know that what the customer want is they enjoy the environment and so on, right? And the scope you can different theme and so on. So if you compare Japan, Disney World and the US may be different. So they can change a little bit, but the main character still there. You still see Mickey Mouse, you see all this still there, but different theme. The way they dress, the character, the way they dress is a bit different. Okay, so the rest you read. Okay, now the next one is in the organization chart. Where does the project manager sit in? So this is a normal organization chart. You start from president, director, division, department, section, and the operator or the labor. So typical project manager will come into the division, will come inside here before the department. Okay, they will project manager will talk to the department or the functional unit here, finance department, R&D department, and so on. They will sit above the department. Okay. Then there are 2 types of projects. One is project driven, one is non-project driven. Okay. Now we are looking at organization. Here, this one. Organization means the org chart, the way you design it. Once you see, okay, this is project oriented or project driven, or this is non-project driven. So micro level means you look at very small section. So all organizations are marketing, engineering, manufacturing driven, for example. So for example, SpaceX that produce cars, rocket, all this, they are engineering driven. Because Elon Musk, he himself is a engineer kind of thinking. So the way they design things is very engineer driven. Macro level means a bigger level, bigger view. Organization can be project or non-project driven. So what does it mean? Project driven, for example, construction, civil, they are project driven. Or aerospace, Airbus, Boeing, Petronas, not Petronas, Petronas also can. Automotive industry, they are all project driven. Okay. So what does it different? So for project driven, you have each project have a separate cost center, having its own profit and loss statement, and have their own account. Then is a project driven. Okay. So the keyword here is project lah. Means the bill or the report, the financial report is based on projects. Okay. So the organization chart will look like that. Project manager A, below there is project staff A, project staff A, project staff A. So means green team for project A. Then orange color or this color, blue team, and so on. So each team have their own balance sheet, profit and loss statement. They need to do report, financial report. Okay. So total profit of the corporation simply summarize of profit of all projects. So they look at projects, whether project A, B, C, they combine, then look at whether we make profit in the whole year or not. Okay. Of course, there are competition between the project manager here. Okay. So project driven, everything was focused on the projects rather than they look at the department. They don't through the conversation, you know already lah. When you talk to, like for example, Intel or Motorola, they split their team into projects. They'll tell you, or you walk in there, then you talk to. They normally talk to like which project you are in now. Maybe they are from that. For example, telecommunication, Motorola. You are in the high frequency walkie-talkie, this one. So walkie-talkie is one of the projects, but inside walkie-talkie they have different models. So they talk according to the project's progress. So they have a project meetings and so on. Okay. Intel also have. Intel have different like chip of different chip processor and so on. So they have this project and so on. Non-driven, usually they are manufacturing. Okay, or we call it low tech manufacturing. Profit and loss, they are measured vertically or functional line. They look at R&D. Do you make money or not? Or they very look at the department. Okay. Priority resources assigned to the revenue producing functional line activities rather than the projects. So if you are in the non-project organization means your resources will give to those making money functional line. Means if the sales department make money, then more resources will pump into the marketing and sales. You'll see the loss of they spend a lot of money in the magazine, in the publication, and so on. So that is the things rather than the projects. Okay, so this is a difference between project oriented or project driven and non-project driven. Okay, so you see the organization chart change already. You don't you seldom see projects, the keyword project inside the organization chart. You will see one department, one department, one department. Like functional manager, then the staff got staff plus project staff, and so on. Yes, means there's a mixture, but they focus on the function. They focus on the department. But inside department, they have a mixture of project staff there. Okay. So here you see the green color mixed with the blue color one. Okay. But the previous one, you see the only one color. Okay. So this is also a very popular question in the assessment. How do you differentiate project-driven and non-project driven organization? So you need to explain what is, you need to define project-driven, what is project-driven, what is different project-driven. Then you draw the diagram that you see just now. I'll show you two diagrams. One is this one is another one. Okay. Okay. So project-driven, a non-project-driven, usually they are difficult because of all these reasons. Maybe the project is not a lot, not many projects. And then not many project means less profit, less income. And then, yeah, so this one is not project, have the same project management requirement. And because different requirement, then you need different resources already. Okay. Then executive don't have sufficient time to manage themselves, but they refuse to delegate authority. So for non-project driven organization, normally they have a boundaries of that. Like, okay, when you want to use my thing, you have to talk to me and so on. But a project driven is like an open concept because you focus on projects. So like, okay, this machine you can use also. So like team one part, you have to have a logbook and all this, like to book the machine and all this. But when it's non-driven, they give authority to that specific department. You cannot cross the department one. Like every time you want to use resources, you have to get permission and all this. So sometimes you will be have a difficulties when you have a executive level. They gila kuasa, or they have they want to keep everything on their table. Then it's very hard already for the non-project driven. Means you need, then the time you feedback to the customer also will slow down because everything was stuck at that particular person or that department. Because you need to get through the permission there. Okay. So for the project driven, usually for project driven, usually it work very fast and the decision making also very fast because the communication is very clear. Okay. So these are also other reason. The rest you read. Delayed approval because of vertical change of command. You need to report one level to another level. And non-project driven, they are heavily dependent on subcontract outside the agencies of the companies. Right? So non-project driven, because they have less projects, so sometimes it's more profit you subcontract it to other people. Then you just do assembly. You just do assembly and then you sell them. Okay. This one is so just now the example is you don't have a consistent project numbers, but you have another case is that if you have a steady stream of projects, a non-project driven also can work, but they are normally manufacturing operation, and some project may be customer request, means custom made. Then you have all this introduction of project change concept, statistical dimensioning concept, and so on. Okay. Yeah. The rest you read now. So these are the consequences that might be happen in a non-project driven organization if the changes are not identified as a specific projects. Okay, then these are the answers. So normally for this module, the question is very, very specific. It will ask you, for example, you see the question have all these words, means the answer is this one. Okay. Again, I won't expect you to know all the answer, maybe 3 answers from here. Okay. Okay. The next diagram, today you see 2 diagrams. One is the triangular, primary, secondary, and cycle outside. Second one is the org chart, project driven and non-project driven. The third one is this one, iceberg. Tip of the iceberg syndrome. What is this one? It just means that all types of organization, but most commonly non-project driven organization, meaning you don't see problems below the iceberg. Okay, you only see there's the one at the surface. You see there's a delegation authority to the project manager, but you don't see the problems or challenges in the organization. Okay, so the rest you read, huh? Okay, so many of the problems surface much later in the projects and result much higher cost to correct as well as increase the project cost. Okay. So in this case, you see that on the surface there is a lack of authority given to the project manager. So if you have a lack of authority to the project manager, then you will have a big problem under the iceberg. Okay. But this one normally happen in a non-project driven organization. Okay. Because non-project driven, project manager don't have large authority. Okay, they don't have the authority to make adjustment. So the rest you read. Important is this diagram. So you just fill in, you just draw an iceberg, then you put in delegation of authority to project manager, executive meeting, lack of understanding, lack of training or communication problems here, interpersonal skill. Okay. Okay. So this is a big quiz. Of course, you won't see ABCD in your test 1, test 2, and final exam. It's just to prove your understandings. So traditional competing constraint on the projects are what? These 3: time, cost, and scope quality, or this one. So the second one, which of the following is not part of the definition of the projects? It's not part of the definition. Okay, yeah. So definition have constraint, have resources, have objective. But I don't have this one. Which of the following usually not part of the criteria for project success? Which one is not? C. So means that usually we look at customer, what the customer think. Customer think okay, then everything okay. Or the sponsor say okay, then okay. Which of the following is generally not benefit achieved by using project management? Which generally is not a benefit achieved by using if you are using project management? Which one is not? A. Okay. So when you deal with project management, normally we don't touch end date. We don't touch the delivery date. We can make indifferent in the between, but not the end date. Because end date is what you agree with the customers, right? Like you order from Shopee, they tell you like you will deliver at a certain date, but you don't receive it, then you get a very low star. Okay, number 5, person responsible for assigning resources to the project most often, which one? Project manager, HR, line manager, or executive or sponsor? Responsible for assigning resources. Who jaga the resources? No, it's a line manager or functional manager. You are the finance manager. You are the one who have a finance say to your resources. Or you are the production floor manager. You are the one who can have the finance say. This one work for general. It can be 2. Okay, but it just tell you that it just this question 5 actually give you an idea like where is project manager position. You actually is a manager. You don't own anything. Your job is to make sure project success. You like a chairman of the meeting one. Make sure the meeting start on time, end on time. Then meet the meeting objective like, okay, this is the scope of the meeting or agenda of the meeting. Make sure you close all the agendas. That is your job scope as a project manager. Okay, so remember, this is a very important concept for the rest of the module. Conflict between projects and line manager are often resolved by who? Resolved by who? By between the project manager and line manager. I mean, this one, maybe there's a manager missing here. Means you quarrel with the production manager. Who go and solve this one? Sponsor. Means that your CEO or your the top management. Sponsor here is like sponsor here is not yeah, it can be also people who pay money, but here is like the big boss of your company lah. Sponsor means who give you the resources to work there or to start the projects. It's your big boss, man. Right. So sponsor here, it can be external, it can be but this one you normally refer to internal one, the company internal, the top management. Okay. For project management, we use sponsor to differentiate the executive people. Okay. Your project does only projects if the project performed by a company are so and so. A project, the profit criteria exists on projects, then your organization most likely project driven. Okay, because everything was focused on projects. Okay. Okay, I think today we stop here. Next lecture, we look at risk already. Okay, so for the rest of the lecture, we have this kind of question, ask you to reflect. Yeah. Yes. Okay, we stop here. Okay.